You know, some stories are so explosive, so tangled up in power and secrets, that history just kind of tries to bury them. Well, today, we're digging one up.
So let me ask you this. What if you found out a forgotten relative didn't just have a few skeletons in their closet? What if they held the key to a hidden chapter of American history, one that involved corruption at the highest levels?
This is Fred G. Pastore. For most of his life, his story was basically a ghost, just a whisper in the halls of power. This was a man who stared down both the mob and the White House, and whose real story was never told.
That is, until his grandson, Eddie Insera, was handed this box. And inside, sealed IRS case files, secret memos, personal journals, the kind of stuff that brought Fred's entire unbelievable life roaring right back from the past.
So who was this guy? Well, Fred Pastore was not your typical IRS agent sitting behind a desk. Not even close. In the 1950s and 60s, as a group supervisor for the IRS Intelligence Division, his job was to hunt the most dangerous financial criminals in New England.
Yeah, you can forget that whole stereotype of the quiet tax man with a pencil. Fred operated with a badge and a gun. He wasn't just doing financial audits. He was a master of forensic accounting. He wasn't just crunching numbers. He was waging a full-on war with the mob. They called his team the Racket Squad, and for good reason. They didn't send letters, they conducted these dramatic, coordinated raids, busting down the doors of gambling dens and seizing massive illegal cash operations. This was real, hands-on, high-stakes work.
And he wasn't going after small-time crooks either. His targets were the absolute titans of the New England underworld. We're talking guys like Jerry Angiulo, the underboss of the Patriarca crime family, who ran a whole gambling empire right out of a bakery in Boston's North End. But here's what made Fred so brilliant and so dangerous to them. He saw the whole picture. With nothing but old-school legwork and this incredible mind for numbers, he didn't just spot a crime. He mapped out their entire ecosystem, understanding exactly how the money flowed and where the real power was.
But you know how it goes. When you follow the money, sometimes you end up in places you're not supposed to be. For Fred, that path led him straight into a collision course with the most powerful people in the entire country.
And things escalated fast. It all started with a tip from a mob boss, of all people, about a textile magnate. This guy's bribery scheme went all the way to President Eisenhower's chief of staff, forcing him to resign. But then the Kennedys came into power, and the pressure on Fred got intense. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy's office made it clear. Back off. Fred's response? No way.
In a move that is just unbelievably bold, Fred sends this telegram directly to President John F. Kennedy and his brother Bobby. He asked for a meeting to discuss a serious development in his case. And the response he got back? Nothing. Absolute silence. Instead of a meeting, Fred got this letter. It was a politically motivated demotion, a transfer to some dead-end job out in Syracuse, New York. The message couldn't have been clearer. You did your job too well, and now we're going to make you disappear.
But Fred Pastore wasn't the kind of guy you could just bury. And what he did next, well, it's the most shocking twist in this entire story. It's a move that turned his whole life's work completely on its head. And you can just see the transformation. On the one hand, you have Fred, the IRS agent, seizing criminal records, and on the other, after the government forces him out, you have Fred, the powerful private consultant, building a whole new kind of influence.
His grandson really said it best in his book. The man who literally wrote the playbook on how to take down the mob was now using that same exact knowledge to legally advise them on how to protect themselves from the very agency that betrayed him.
And his client list? It became a who's who of Boston's most powerful and notorious figures. Nightlife kingpins, Las Vegas casino owners, and yeah, even members of the Patriarca crime family. The very same men he once hunted were now his clients.
So this is the question at the very heart of the story, isn't it? Was he a man of unbreakable integrity who was just pushed too far, or did he cross a line? Was Fred Pastore a hero, an anti-hero, or something else entirely?
See, digging this story up isn't just about a history lesson. It's about trying to understand a legacy, a story of integrity, pressure, and survival that feels more relevant than ever today.
You want to know his professional legacy? It boils down to this simple formula he used to warn his clients. C plus R equals J. Cooperation plus records equals jail. It was his code. And the craziest part? That same phrase is still used inside IRS offices today, a quiet little echo of his influence.
And now, all thanks to that dusty old box, this whole buried history is coming to light for a new generation. It's been turned into a book, a really gripping podcast, and there's even an interactive AI where you can explore the case files and ask Fred questions for yourself.
Because in the end, this is so much more than just a mob story. It's a true crime epic, a political thriller, and a family memoir all rolled into one. It's a uniquely American story about the messy lines between loyalty, corruption, family, and what it really takes to survive when the system itself turns against you.
And this photo here, it really brings everything full circle. That's Fred holding his little grandson Eddie, the same person who would, decades later, uncover this whole story. It's just a powerful reminder that the most important truths, they're never really lost. They just wait, patiently, for someone to finally bring them into the light.